What is up, everybody? It is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning into another video, man. So we got a different video today. I get a lot of comments once in a while asking about different books that you can get for audio mixing and mastering and that kind of thing. And I thought we would talk about that in today's video. I got quite a collection, so I've kind of got some of my favorite books that we'll be going through. Definitely make sure to smash like so I know if you're enjoying the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and comment below if I should get into more, maybe like every Sunday I'll do a different type of video that is maybe a bit different from straight up mixing. But nonetheless, man, yeah, let's get straight into it. So firstly, I'd just like to talk about the whole debate in regards to if it's still important to go to audio school, my stance on it, as well as if it's still relevant in today's society. And for my personal opinion, there are obviously two schools of thought when it comes to getting a education in sound from an institute, for example, college or university. In my opinion, I don't think it is all that much needed. I think that there's so much out there these days that let's just get that to focus. Focusing is going to be difficult this video, but there's just so much going around today that you can actually get the best of both worlds. But we'll talk about that as we go along. In my opinion, I did drop out of sound school, whatever you'd call it. There was a year course that I was doing, and I ended up just doing the theoretical part. I aced it, and then I dropped out during the holidays to actually go and do an internship at a studio, which had a massive SSL console, which kind of led me to fall in love with solid state logic. I got one of their pieces right here. I also have a console and that kind of thing. But, especially in today's time, we're heading into 2021. I think that watching many of the people that I went to school with that are still in university, I'm 25 years old, many people, studying from home and that kind of thing, I think that it just kind of proves the point that you really can get a lot done within the home environment. So I do believe that if you purchase the right books, you make the right steps post reading these books, or making the right steps while reading these books, you're going to lead yourself into a very much more of a unique position than many other people. Some of the people I do still stay in contact with that went to the audio college or just in university in general went more the traditional route. Now, obviously, the traditional route is always a good way to take if you want to be doctor, lawyer, whatever. But when it comes to audio and the arts, if you want to be an artist or something, I do believe that if you can bring something unique to the table, you'll always have a place in the industry. So yeah, man, hopefully, that makes a bit of sense. Let's get straight into some interesting books. So book number one. All right, so book number one would probably be, my recommendation would be this book I showed just now. And that would be The Mixer Man and the Billionaire Apparent. And really, this book is a book that is going to allow you to kind of fall in love with audio and sound. This is a really fun read, so this is not something hyper technical. This more so just kind of looks into, I never actually finished it. I got to the end of the book. But really what this book is about, Mixer Man, let's actually start off by talking about him. We will get into his other more technical books just now. This is Mixer Man right here. You can always see his logo right there, the kind of Zen logo. Pretty cool dude. But yeah, man, Mixer Man is a dude on the internet, a professional recording engineer who has been mixing and recording in LA for a long time, and he became a writer. He used to write on audio forums, and he began this kind of weekly post where he was writing about his experiences mixing a band and recording a band and how crazy that was, and it kind of sparked his writing career. So this book is really about a really rich kid who wants to be a recording engineer, the world's best engineer. I think it is an Indian guy, and there's Mixer Man somewhere there. And really the story is just about this guy's father, paying a whole lot of money to Mixer Man to basically teach him how to mix. So it's a really interesting book. It's really fun, and it all surrounds audio. This will definitely help you kind of gain an understanding of what it's like to be an engineer, day-to-day activities and that kind of thing. Mixer Man definitely portrays that well. He's also written his main book, which is, I think it is The Adventures of Mixer Man, if I'm not mistaken, and that's his kind of original book, so that's also worth checking out on Amazon. But yeah, this is really fun, definitely a good book. Obviously, number two would then be these two books. I don't have the third one. They weren't available in the country which I reside in. There is a third one, which is, I'm pretty sure, Zen and the Art of Mixing, so that would fit in the middle of this series right here. But I would definitely start off with Zen and the Art of Recording. If you are going to be purchasing books, I would recommend that you start off by learning the process from the beginning. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people want to get straight into mixing, but have not yet mastered the art of recording, or not even, or more so, haven't yet mastered the basics. And this is where things like college and stuff may help you. But if you find the right book, you're definitely going to be able to, pick up on what you need to know, and then go and apply for an internship, for example, and be up to scratch. If somebody says, hey, go get the AKG 4-on-4, you know exactly what that mic is. You can also start recommending, hey, what would you use on the toms, right? Hey, man, maybe a 4-2-1, right? These are the conversations that you're going to be having in a studio, and it's important to A, know the lingo, but B, actually know how to apply the tools for the job. So, hopefully that makes sense. While we're talking about recording, we might as well find a book like the Bruce Swedien Recording Method. This is a really cool book as well, something I haven't yet finished reading, but skimming through it, he covers a lot of stuff, like, for example, if we look at, mic technique considerations, right? These are things that are going to be talked about in this book as well. I didn't actually talk about what this book is actually about, but it's really going to be going through all the techniques. If I just read a few chapters, for example, we can say the recorder's tools, right? Digital technology, evaluating and choosing your tools, and then we can run into the microphone, the capsule, the different pickup patterns, the converters, the DAW. These are all things that are going to be essential towards your understanding of recording, to help you get a better sound. And one day you'll be able to mangle a whole bunch of gear together. But definitely you need to focus some time on learning about all the different gear. So this is going to teach you about the techniques, a little bit about the gear. But this from Bruce Swedien, for those who don't know, Bruce Swedien, rest in peace, by the way. What a cool guy. He engineered for Michael Jackson. Thriller album is arguably one of the best sounding albums of all time. To be able to kind of get into his mind and really, listen to his perspective on different mics. So, for example, I'm speaking into a U87 right now, one of the older ones. And, he'll have covered his opinion on this mic. I don't think he was actually a fan on this mic, but he pretty much runs through. I know you can't really see that, but he's got a whole section on all the different microphones that he likes to use, microphones that he had in his arsenal, that he likes to use. And I'm sure he's probably, going to be looking at different mic preamps, mic techniques, how to record vocals, right? We can see, for example, choosing a microphone for solo vocals, all these different topics that, instead of posting in the YouTube comment section, you can go ahead and, get a few books and, get reading. So, these two books I highly recommend for, let's turn that around. I highly recommend for learning how to record. So check those out. All right. So after that, I would probably get involved in, once you learn about the techniques, I would then probably get involved in how to build your own little studio. Okay. This is a book that I never quite got through. I took from it what I needed. This was quite the British do tend to make quite boring books at times. I think this is a British person who made this book. Maybe not. I don't know. I do see an ISBN number, meaning it's probably from England or something like that. But I could be wrong. But, really cool book, man. But basically this book is going to, I'm just trying to remember what I actually read in this book. Practical acoustics. So you're going to be able to learn a little bit about, acoustics and that kind of thing. My studio is acoustically treated. I did hire someone to do the design. But this is going to be a great book on just pretty much setting up your own home studio. So, for example, we've got a chapter here called My Studio, How Big and What Shape, right? So you can check a chapter out called How Big Should a Studio Be, right? So what is the minimum size for a studio? What type of size or what type of shape is ideal for a studio, right? That way you can assess your own recording environment. For example, if it's your bedroom, for some of the older guys I know, they may have an extra room in their house, so they may have this set up in their lounge area, for example, if they're staying alone. You can do all these different kind of analysis on the types of room that you have, for example, studio size and low frequency response, right? All these things are important. This book is a bit scientific and boring, but it's definitely a start. And just kind of looking at what else we can look into here, man. I mean, studio built in a residence, right? So what are we going to be doing in order to try and treat that, right? All these interesting things that you would probably cover in a college course are all right here. So if you want to get a bit nerdy, this is definitely going to be the book that you can check out. Hopefully I have been close enough the whole time around. I'll probably do a final shot thing just to make sure you get all the names and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So once you've done your studio, I'm just kind of moving in order here. If you have already learned about your recording techniques, you've now built your studio, your home studio base, then it's obviously time to then learn how to produce. Okay, somebody asked me just now on Instagram, what does producing mean? And I think in today's world, especially since beat makers became a thing. We've kind of taken the term producer and shifted it over towards, all of the beat makers. And I just want to kind of clarify the difference between a beat maker and a producer. A producer, obviously, you're going to learn about this in this book, but I'm just going to kind of break it down from my perspective on what a producer is. But a producer is someone who's really going to oversee a whole project, right? So if somebody called me up, I've done this before. It's not really something that happens all too much these days. Artists are kind of producing for themselves. But if, let's say, you hired me to be the producer of your next album, we could then sit down and have a conversation in regards to, what style we're going to go for, right? We're going to go for the modern pop sound, or we're going to go for more underground Miami style of hip hop. I would be able to sit down with you and really kind of look at what your image is like, look at what types of fans you're trying to reach out to, and really kind of look into a marketing idea. You know what I mean? Maybe we might also have to go and find funding, right? A producer is going to be that guy who's going to really make sure that everything kind of works out, right? So for example, let's say you had $10,000 to produce this album, and you asked for me to find you a studio where we could actually record this album and actually have it sound good. I would then go and liaison with different studios. If we were in Miami, for example, I might go to a different studio and say, hey man, we need a studio lockout for 2 weeks to record an album, right? All of these terms I know, and I'll be able to handle that for you. I would also make sure that during the process of recording, we have the right recorder, right? Who are you to know, for example, as the artist, or why would you have to kind of handle this section of this process? For example, having to worry if the recording engineer is actually doing his job properly, right? I would be right there in the same room with him, listening to the vocals. Hey man, the vocal, maybe we could switch out a different mic. Hey man, that beat's not so nice. Maybe we should switch out the beat, right? That's really what the producer is. He's kind of the overseer of your project. The producer may also just sit down with you for a once-off project and do the exact same thing, right? I consider guys like, Pharrell to be producers, right? They may sit down and make the whole beat with you and then record you and then mix you. Those are really, pause what a producer's job might entail. So definitely different to what a beat maker's job entails. A beat maker is obviously strictly just focused on creating the instrumental, but in hip-hop obviously we've called beat makers producers. So that's just something I wanted to clear up. But if you were interested in what I just said, then a book like this is definitely going to interest you. I mean, if we look at some of the topics here in this book, right? Some history of producers, right? Recording technology, additive technology, the requirements of producing. So we can look at what it actually takes to be a producer, right? Not everyone can be a producer. For example, I see myself still as an amateur producer, simply because, I haven't been to LA and produced hit albums, right? So I'm still kind of in the lower tier, although I have done quite a few projects in my life to where, I can feel satisfied with my managerial skills when it comes to dealing with people's projects, as well as just dealing with my own life, right? I'm doing the YouTube, I'm doing my own private stuff, and it requires management. So if you are somebody who is more interested in the management side of production, then being a producer is something that you can look into. So, for example, here we can look at chapter 1, the different types of producers, right? We've got the musician producer, the engineer producer, the music fan producer, right? That might be the more A&R level producer. The songwriter producer, right? We could sit down and actually hash out lyrics. That's something I've done as well. The default producer, so maybe just somebody that the label sends, right? The studio owner producer. I would consider myself a studio owner producer, right? Because if somebody comes here and wants to hire the space, I have to engineer, right? Because it's my studio, I know all the inputs and whatnot, whereby, if a unique producer or engineer came through, they would have a lot harder of a time trying to kind of figure out where everything is set up. And, every engineer obviously has his own setup, so that could fit into that. Lots of different stuff. The hip-hop producer, and obviously then we could talk about the beat maker, and I think he talks about that in this book. That's kind of where I've gained all this knowledge, right? But lots of cool stuff to go through, man. I really do. I am quite interested in this part of music production, so it's definitely something to consider checking out. Renting studios, preparing the budget, preparing and organizing your session, right? The whiteboard. Oh man, how many times on Twitter have you seen guys like Kanye West post, album almost done, and then they got this whiteboard with songs, or Mike Dean even, right? He'll have a whiteboard with songs checked off. I consider guys like that producers, right? Right-hand men to guys like Travis Scott, rock steady guys, boom, cool stuff, right? So what else do we have, man? If you really want to get nerdy, you could then go into things like the sound business, right? This is something that I have kind of studied, But this kind of goes beyond my I have a bit of ADD, so it's definitely difficult to concentrate. But basically, this book says how to use sound to grow profits and brand value, right? This actually has helped me, man. Except I've had a more, what I would say, a ground roots approach to learning about sound business. I was lucky enough to get a job post my internship to go and work in a commercial media house. For those who don't know what a media house is, it's basically a production facility where advertising agencies can contact the studio and then get a full solution worked out for them. So, for example, let's just say you live in America and Walmart need some adverts done, right? They'll obviously need the video edited, they'll obviously need the audio recorded, and then the animations and stuff all handled. And that's what the media house would do. So, I was 18, I was probably the youngest person ever to work at the studio, and I really got to see how different types of people came together to make a finished product. You know what I mean? So if you are into getting into the more, the real business side of music, then a book like this, and obviously a few other books I'm sure you can find out about, are going to give you that type of insight. If we kind of go through a few of the chapters, we can get some more philosophical perspective on sound, right? More of a philosophical perspective on sound. The nature of sound, right? Vibration, harmonic soundscapes, whatever, right? There are all these different things, but it definitely goes into more of a, branding, brand voice, brand music, sonic logo, right? That's something that Gary Vee covered, right? I don't know for those who know Gary Vee, but he was one of the people to say, hey man, your company needs a little sound, what we would call like a tag or whatever, right? You need something like that. So this is where you're going to find that type of info. Really beautiful stuff. So really cool sound business. Now, if you are wanting to learn more about mastering, this book is pretty dirty. I don't know. I probably drank quite a few cups of coffee while reading this book. But, this is a book that is obviously going to get into the core fundamentals of mastering. I don't consider myself a mastering engineer, although I can, push some stuff through a bus compressor for you and do some enhancement. But in my opinion, mastering is something that is deserved. It's a title that is deserved, meaning you should have at least like 5 to 10 years experience as a mastering engineer. But if you really want to learn about the terminology, and this is where I learned about the terminology, this is a book that'll help you out. For example, we can look at stuff or topics such as overview of mastering and typical session, right? Goals of mastering. So the role of the mastering engineer, right? Because a lot of people kind of loosely use the term mastering. Hey, I mastered my track. 6 sound goodizers is not mastering, right? But who needs mastering? Don't master your own mixes. Balance of benefit and sacrifice. Creativity in mastering, right? How much kind of space do you have to really enhance the track? So this is definitely a book that is going to help you out. At the same time, they are books like this can quickly become outdated, whereby books like The Art of Recording are not really going to become outdated. The reason I say this becomes outdated is because this book might have been made during the time where CDs were still being printed, right? And that would basically mean that I'm just trying to find the year 2013. I mean, this is all this dust. In terms of kind of the mastering ranges, for example, right? Loudness. I think in 2015, LUFS came out, right? Loudness units with reference to full scale, and it's kind of changed the way we master music. So you definitely want to keep up to date with that. But a book like this obviously is going to have the more philosophical aspects of mastering added to it. And the different cool people that you can check out. I think Ian Shepherd is also a mastering engineer you can check out on YouTube. He has a website and that kind of thing where he's regularly kind of updating people on certain changes within the industry. So, for example, if Spotify has changed their required level from -14 to -12, he'll be the first guy to be able to tell you that. So yeah, lots of cool stuff, man. As a bonus, I highly recommend all the young guys out there to read a book like this, man. Stefan Ariano is a guy who passed away. If you see me on Instagram, I still follow him, even though he passed away. Let's just kind of get that in there, man. And this is a good book, man. I mean, this is definitely not for the woke crowd. Do not read this book. If you're easily offended, burn this book instead, man. I definitely think we're living in a different type of generation. The emasculation of men is definitely upon us. I heavily believe that men should work and men should find purpose. So if you are a young guy out there who is kind of looking for a sense of purpose, looking for your career, looking for your, meaning in life, then a book like this is definitely no joke. It is a really quick read. Don't be, what would the word be, scared off by the size of this book, you'll read this book in a week if you get it. It's on Amazon. Check it out. Really good book, man. It's definitely going to help you boss your life up. So yeah, lots of good stuff, man. As I said, I think I've been through everything that I have on hand right now. I'm not in the mood to kind of go get more, but that should be a good start. And definitely also, if you want to learn more about studio equipment, I would highly recommend that you watch studio tour videos, especially the stuff from Produce Like a Pro. Just type in Produce Like a Pro studio tour on YouTube and just begin watching different studios with different types of gear, because that's kind of how I learned about all the different types of gear, right? VCA type compressor, FET compressor, all these cool pieces of gear, H3000, all sorts of wonderful pieces of gear that I've learned about through other engineers' descriptions of them, right? So they might say, oh man, 1176, right? What a wonderful compressor on vocals, man. I got to try it out, right? Now, when I couldn't afford one, I probably just tried out the plugin, right? And then I liked the plugin so much, I went and got the UAD. And then after the UAD, I went and got the OG one, right? You see what I mean? You can definitely start to love sound through other engineers and their experiences of said gear and topic choice and whatnot. So, there's so much resource out there. That's why I say it is not a necessity to go to university, especially if you're going to be taking out loans, especially if you live in a vibrant city. So for example, New York, if you have the right books read and the right kind of knowledge in the head, you are going to be able to just straight up go and apply for an internship, and if you've read a book like this, you're not going to be scared to go and ask for a job. You know what I mean? Guys like me, man, we just go for it, man. I was 17, cycling a BMX, through the city, going to an internship. It is what it is. It's paid off because you see, I can do what I want whenever I want, right? I work when I want. Yeah, man, definitely also don't skip out on the financial aspect. Definitely learn about money management, how to save money, how to store money and that type of thing. And you'll be up regardless of what field you're in. It doesn't have to be audio. But yeah, man, hopefully you enjoyed hanging out. I'll check out next time. Stay well, keep mixing, keep working. Peace out.